The Catholic Church teaches that through forgiveness, God removes from our souls, in our hearts, our wickedness, in our sinfulness, and restore our human condition. Only God can do that in our lives to help us to change our attitude and our hearts move with compassion and mercy to others. In today's gospel, the Lord presents to us a story of a man who owed some money to the king, and he prostrate before the king and said, "Please be patient with me, I will pay you back." And the king forgave their debt. And later on, one of his fellow servants owed a small amount of money, and he didn't do that. Sometimes in our lives, this gospel applies to us. When the Lord calls you and me, to be patient, to be kind to others, whoever the person is. Sometimes it can be your husband, can be your wife, your neighbors, your friends, people in the grocery, people on the street, whatever we are. What do we do in those moments? Do we practice mercy and kindness? Or sometimes we forget about it. Because life is about that. Life is about relationship with Christ and with one another. The more we accept the Christ in our lives, the more Christ-like we become to others. That's what we call Christians, Catholics, because we are called to be His servants. We are called to imitate Christ. And everything that we do always reflect His kindness and love. But there is a part that we call human nature. Because sometimes we are not perfect. We make mistakes. And I think it's one of the challenges that sometimes we don't see that in our hearts. What is our imperfections and brokenness that we need to be reconciled with Christ. That's what happens. When somebody doesn't see in our lives, in our hearts, their attitude to others, sometimes the lacking of kindness, lacking of patience, lacking of love, how can we change that when we don't ask for forgiveness? One of the beautiful gifts that the church has given us is the sacrament of confession, of reconciliation. That's what happened. We acknowledge before the Lord in our hearts our attitudes to others. Sometimes we be critical to others, we lacking of trust, lacking of patience, lacking of mercy, and we need to ask the Lord to remove all those things from our hearts. If we don't do that, we can be exactly that this fellow servant who asked for forgiveness and he didn't practice to his fellow friend. And challenge us. But it's a good challenge because the Lord is there for us to help us and to recognize that without Christ, we cannot change those attitudes. Without Christ, we cannot see mercy in our hearts. We cannot see compassion and kindness and love. The lacking of that mercy, compassion, kindness, love is what really makes our relationships to be difficult. Because there is always that kind of tension, always that kind of battle between you or the other person, between you, because you don't get along very well. Because sometimes the attitude, sometimes be arrogant, sometimes be selfish. I know what to do, this is who I am. We see those personalities. But sometimes that is not the attitude that Christ wants us to be. And the second reading gives us the answer to that. He said, Paul to the Romans, brothers and sisters, no one lives by ourselves. And I want to say that we cannot be Christians without Christ. We cannot love like Christ if Christ is not the center of my life. And no one dies for oneself. If we live for the Lord. What does that mean to us? Did I have to do this? Yes. Because the Lord calls us every single day, wherever you are in your life, as a married couple, as a single person, as a priest, as a teenager, as a community, to love one another and see Christ in one another. How can we see that in our lives? How can we live that message of Christ in our lives? You have the answer. Whatever is in your heart that speak to you and to me how much we love Jesus. This is the point of this. Looking around here, we got some people over there, here and here and here. But we all together are around this holy table. Why? Because He is the center of our Catholic faith. He gathered us together around this church to remind us that He has prepared for you and for me this holy banquet. It is in this holy banquet that the Lord calls us by our name and reminds us that without Him we cannot see mercy. Without Him we cannot see kindness. Without Him we cannot see love. Because His love is what purifies us and sanctifies us and makes us be who we are. What is the obstacle sometimes that we don't see that very clear? It can be many things, lacking of faith, lacking of trust, working, making money, whatever those challenges are. We had to understand what is my priority in my life, God or myself? Paul said that no one lives by yourself except through God. And challenge us, because sometimes in our lives we don't follow that. Sometimes in our lives Christ is not the first priority. There is nothing wrong with that. We are seeking that truth in our lives. But the more we are close to Jesus Christ and accept Him, the more Christ we become to one another. That we can imitate Christ, showing kindness and mercy. Let me give an example. If your wife or your husband asks, "Hey, honey, could you help me with this?" Sometimes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that, I'm busy right now." It's an example. Second example. "Can you help me?" "Yes, honey, how can I help you?" You start doing what you do and you help your wife. That's what it is. You see this? That is one of the challenges, brothers and sisters, that we are not connected to others because we are so caught up about myself. Me. And because of that, we cannot really see the needs of the other person. We cannot see kindness to the other person because everything is about me, not about them. Because I know it's different than me. We're different. This is who I am. This is who she is or who they are. That attitude is not even Christian. You see this? That is what happened in our society. That we are so disconnected to Jesus Christ and to others. It makes it so difficult to live together because we don't communicate each other, we don't talk, we don't accept our differences, we don't have time for you because I don't even care what happened to you. This is what happened. That is the attitude of the people. And sometimes never changed. Sometimes getting worse and worse and worse. And the Lord reminds us, I don't want to be in that way. I am the Lord your God, who come to love you and to see how compassionate and merciful are to you, that you can change that attitude and come with me and be my servant. The church needs servants and disciples of Christ. A servant of Christ is anybody else who recognizes who Jesus Christ is and who we are as his co-workers. That helps us to understand what is my calling as a husband, as a wife, as a priest, as a family, and as a community. I know it's a long way that we had to do this together, along with Christ. And I invite you, whatever sometimes challenges us to pursue kindness and mercy to others, ask Jesus Christ, when you come to receive the Holy Eucharist, ask Jesus Christ, Lord, let me see in my heart kindness and mercy, because sometimes I'm lacking in that mercy. I cannot really forgive others. I cannot ask for forgiveness or say, I'm sorry, it's my fault. But it's Jesus Christ who can do that in our lives, because everything is possible for those who accept and love Jesus. This is who we are. This is who we are. What a beautiful life. What a gift. But we have to take this to our hearts and practice it every single day. That happened to me as a priest every single day. You think it's easy to be a priest? No. I had to deal with different personalities, with people. And I said, Lord, here I am. I come to help you and to serve you. Give me patience and love to love you and see you and one another. The same thing with you. Lord, help me how to be patient with my wife and my husband and my children and be an example of your love. How many times do we ask for this? Not only 77 times, all the time. If something bothers you, go to the sacrament of confession and ask for forgiveness. Don't let those weaknesses stay in your heart, because it doesn't help us to see holiness and kindness in our lives. Thank you for being here, and may this Holy Eucharist and this message from today help us to really be instruments of mercy, kindness, and love. Whatever you do, whatever you say, always ask Jesus Christ to guide our thoughts and our hearts to show to others kindness and love. When we do that, that changes everything and makes the differences. We can transform our society, transform our relationships, and our culture and the church if we follow Christ's teaching and be his friends.